Thank you for seeing me today. So the issue for the day is gay rights in the country. Tell me what rights they actually have, and
Firstly, one needs to think about the Constitution. We have a Bill of Rights, and that applies to every single person. We're talking here about equality. So, the LGBT community should be treated equally to any other community. We're talking about privacy. But then on the other hand, these are all rights that really are exercised in an individual manner. When we look at relationships and at the family, for example, that is not protected in terms of the Constitution. A relationship between gay people is not protected because the right to family relates to a man and a woman that are married. So in that sense, they are not protected, and that is of concern to me. I think, though, that we have to look at the overarching right to dignity. I think that everybody, part of being a person is to choose who you want to be with, who you want to love, who you want to spend your time with. And that really goes to the right to dignity, and that applies to every single person in this country. And then, of course, we look at the other rights that come through legislation. If you look at the Combating of Domestic Violence Act, that cannot be used by people in same-sex relationships. So, in other words, they can't get protection orders. It applies only to a normal, that is obviously cause for concern. That's what people think, yeah. It applies only to the heterosexual relationships, and that is of concern as well.
So Namibia's got a lot of archaic laws that haven't been adapted over time, including like sodomy and stuff like that. What's the way forward? How do we change these laws? How do we get those things?
I mean, we need to obviously look at that. We have been working of late with some of the people in the community, in the LGBTI community. However, you will have heard that there are now some concerns in terms of the organizations that were dealing with LGBTI rights that no longer are in existence, or they're going through some troubles. So it's very difficult to establish, like, who do we actually assist that's going to speak for the entire community. And of course, people always use religion as an issue. Now, I'm sorry, I don't see anywhere, I'm a Christian too, and I don't see anywhere in the Bible that it says discrimination is okay. It's really not up to us to make that decision anyway. So I think that the concern is we need to make sure that what we do, if we do litigation on sodomy issues in terms of decriminalization, we need to make sure that we are not doing more harm than good. We don't want a backlash. We know that this is a sensitive issue in our country. So we need to really follow it in a manner that takes all the good and doesn't give any of the bad. All right. I know that the Minister of Health, for example, he has spoken out openly about condoms in prisons. All right. When we spoke to the prison officials, they said no ways we can do that because sodomy is a crime. So one needs to maybe look at baby steps and really see how we can help the community in a way that makes sense right now, so that we don't go back to some kind of backlash and it becomes harder.
And what kind of issues do you deal with at the LAC that people in the LGBTI community come see you?
Yeah, we don't have that many people that come and see us, and I think that is of concern, whether it's because they fear that they will be ridiculed, whether it's because people have just become so used to being victimized when they try to access services, for example. If they go to the police stations, you know how they are treated there. I mean, it's anecdotal evidence, it's in the newspapers. But when they do come to see us, generally it's been about being treated in an unequal manner and being victimized. And in that case, for example, there are remedies. If we look at the two main points of contact would probably be the police and the health services. If you are victimized by the police or treated in a bad manner, you can complain. There is a complaints and discipline unit, and there is a process that must be followed. You may feel that, well, there's no point because I'm not going to get any recourse. But if we don't start the process, we will never change the system. That's this one thing. And then on the second side, you have to look at the Ministry of Health and Social Services. Their patient charter actually says that assistance must be given as needed, regardless of sexual orientation, regardless of any of those things. So these are things that, I think that they must start standing up. The LGBTI community must start saying, we are going to claim these rights, and you're going to hit your heads. They are going to hit their heads, and we will assist as far as we can. But there will be some casualties, I believe, on the way.
So some people some of the LGBT community have support, or they join groups, overseas groups, and then they get advice to leave their country because they're going to I mean, then they go to the States and they're refugees out there under Trump. What does that,
Yes, if they get
where does that leave them?
I mean, it's easy for me to say I don't face the victimization. I don't face those things on a daily basis. So please take it from that point of view. But my belief has always been, if we can't change it from within, it's like with the ICC withdrawal. We've got to change these things from within and make it workable for us as Africans. And there's no reason why we can't do that. It's going to be painful. These processes are painful. So I think it's really up to every individual person to decide for themselves whether they are willing to take it on or not. However, just to be told by someone from overseas, just leave the country, someone who possibly doesn't have our context and understanding for what's happening on the ground, well, in my view, I don't think that's the right thing to do.